What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Real Fans Podcast. Back at it again with Julian and myself. We're gonna get right into it. Talk about the major changes going around in the NFL. So we got some rule changes. It's been going on in NBA, MLB, NFL. Back at it again. Starting with the kickoff, man. Julian, what do you think about that? Let us know what's going on.
So one thing's for sure is it's not exactly set in stone yet. They have to do a vote, and I believe 24 owners have to say yes. So these are all potential, but it sounds like a lot of these are going to go through. We're going to find out in the next coming weeks. But I'm going to start off with the main kickoff. So obviously, we all know the big change where if it's a touchback, it goes to the 30. So the idea is to kind of keep kickers from just doing touchbacks and having them try to go for the return. So with those rules that were implemented last season, there was 332 more returns. That's an increase of from 21% to 32%
Okay.
returns. Uh, now what they want to do to kind of increase that even more and incentivize it even more is to move the touchback even farther from not the 30 to now the 35. So if you do a touchback, they're moving to the 35. And not only that, but they want to move the kicker back 5 yards from the to the 30 rather than the 35, which it previously always was. So hearing those three things, hearing that that there actually was an uptick in more returns, about 10% more, and now they want to get that even higher by pushing the touchback to the 35 as well as booting the kicker back 5 more yards. What do you think of that?
So, quick question: If since they're moving the kicker back, the rest of the players are shifting back as well, so that's going to give them
I
uh
would I'm not sure. They didn't really specify that. I think they're going to nail down the details. I would imagine so.
because if everyone else shifts back, that gives the offense,
Well, actually,
a
no.
little
It might
more
actually. I
time
take
to
that
set up.
back. It actually
Yeah,
might stay the same. I don't think it's going to change. I think they would have mentioned that. Also, it doesn't make sense to push them that because you're benefiting the receiving team a lot more, which maybe the
that's
NFL does
what
because
I
of
was thinking. Yeah,
viewership. But I think they're going to remain the same, where they're kind of like 10 yard or 15 yards. I can't remember exactly how far apart they are, like 10 or 15 yards apart, 20 yards apart, something like that, in a straight line. But yeah, what do you think of this? Do you like the idea of more returns?
honestly, yeah, it's part of the game, bro. Who wants to? Yo, we're all hyped up. I remember we were watching the Super Bowl together, and we're excited for the kickoff, and it's a touchback. Like, what is like,
Commercial.
like, you know what I mean? Like, the
Commercial.
build up and the anticipation goes away. Like, we wanna see the game. I know it's part of the game, it's always been part of the game, but I think this will be a benefit. We want to see kickoff returns, right? We wanna see those bang bang plays and the excitement in the beginning of the game. So shifting it to the 35, I think that's highly gonna be incentivized because what it used to be the 20, they shifted up another 30 yards. I mean, another 10 yards to the 30, and then, another five, in which, it's going to give the opposing team better field position, in which that's what the game is about, field position, right? So it's not guaranteed they're even going to get to the 35 if you let them run it back. You know what I mean? If you keep them behind the 30, like you did your job. Um, but us as viewers and fans, I think we would definitely enjoy that more. And something I was thinking about since we are talking about this rule change, uh, I've always thought like there should be a penalty for multiple touchbacks. So granted, let's say the first one they get to the 30, and then if in a half, if you do three, I don't know, touchbacks, you can shift up another 5 to 10 yards gradually to incentivize actually having a proper kickoff.
Not a terrible idea, honestly. That's not a bad idea. I don't. I would. That's. I was. I would have. That's something I'd have to think on because I never really thought about that before. But that's interesting. I will say for me, I actually really like the idea of more
Yeah,
kickoffs. I'm all for it because yeah, the touchback is very underwhelming. I know it's a part of the sport, but I think too, a lot of these rules were made before kickers can boot the ball like they can now. Like, I mean, when you think when this stuff was like made in like the 60s and 70s, like the idea of a 50-yard field goal back then was crazy. I mean, nowadays it's
yeah,
kind of like you're what, maybe like a 75% chance you make that. Like you're feeling pretty confident with your kicker hitting a 50-yarder. So, and I think too, it also, from the positional standpoint, it puts more importance on the returner position. People who are return specialists, it puts a little bit more emphasis on their role on the team. It's not like, oh, we'll just get another returner or whatever it might be. Now it's like, okay, it's almost, do you want to make sure you got a guy who can be a good returner consistently? Because now it's going to be happening more often.
Yeah,
Now it's going to be a pretty important part of the game. So I'm kind of curious to see how that changes. And I also think too, having something like this can make the game as a whole more exciting, because now we all know, like, when you get those big returns, that changes like the momentum of a game,
100%.
whether it be a punt return or a kickoff. So being able to have more returns, the more likelihood you can take it off for bigger. That can change. That could change the momentum. They could even take it to the house, and now all of a sudden you're like a one-score game away. The team feels like they're back in it. It just leaves room for more opportunity for that to happen. So yeah, let's move on to the second rule change, and that is the onside kick. So we all know that we all pray to the gods that when we kick an onside, it's going to work out, but we all know that there's like a 99% chance that it's not.
Yep.
So the NFL wants to fix that. So there was 42 attempts in the 2024 season and only 3 onside kicks were recovered. What that percentage is incalculable. Who knows? But what the NFL is proposing is that to replace that with the onside kick with a 4th and 15 or a 4th and 20 attempt. And
Whoa.
so that's,
First time hearing this,
or
by the way. First time.
or they just want to change the way the teams line up for onside kick. So before I give my opinion on it, what's your thoughts? Do you like the idea of doing a 4th and 15, 4th and 20, or would you rather them change the way they line up for the onside kick?
I mean, so I'm trying to put this together, right? So on an onside kick, isn't that when, let's say, the opposing team scores and you're doing even a regular kickoff? So how would you go from that to a 4th and 15?
I don't know. And that's the thing. I think it's just kind of like a concept and they nail it down, because it says like they're considering even being a 4th and 15 or 4th and 20. Now, does
So
that
on 4th
mean
down,
like,
does that correlated with the onside kick, or is that correlated with now I'm a little
no,
confused.
like instead of doing the kick, you're going to opt, from what my understanding is, instead of doing the onside kick, you're going to opt for a 4th and 15 or 4th and 20, which I'm going to assume is probably going to be from the touchback line. So say the 35,
Got
my
it.
guess.
So if you don't
That,
convert, it's a turnover on downs
yeah.
off
So
rip.
my guess
You
is
can
that
start
yeah.
with a 4th and 15 off rip if you don't wanna
Yeah.
do onside.
Yeah, if you don't want to do the onside, if you want to, which, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll let you finish giving your opinion before you mine.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm saying I was trying to understand it. So let's say late game situation, you get
Yeah,
the ball back, the other team scores, and obviously you're trying to get it back, so you're gonna do an onside kick. So, wherever you have the ball, I guess at the 30, right? Let's say it's a touchback, right? You can just opt for the 4th and 15 or 4th and 20 instead of trying to get an onside kick to get the ball back. You're just gonna have one chance to get that first down.
yeah.
Interesting.
Do you want me to give my points so you can kind of think about it for a second? Because I mind you, audience, that I'm kind of throwing this at JoJo for the first time because he's heard about it, but he hasn't like dove deep into it. So I'll give my opinion on it. I'm gonna say I'm not totally against the idea of the 4th down play. I don't necessarily love it. What I would rather have is change the way teams line up on an onside kick to make it more even. I rather see the receiving team kind of get pushed back more, and because I don't want to devalue special teams, because I just feel like we're putting more and more emphasis into the offense and how important the offense is. I mean, even with the new overtime rules, they changed it because they felt like the offense needed to be on the field again. I'm like, well, no, there's two sides to the game. There, like, defense is also part of the team. If you score straight and the defense is going to stop you, that's on them. You shouldn't get another chance. Just because the offense didn't get a chance Well, it's a team sport at the end of the day. And I think all three levels of the team and all three sections, the special teams, the offense, and defense, need to have their own set of importance. And we can't devalue one because we want maybe that kicker's not good enough for it. And I think too, it adds more importance to the kicker as well. And this goes for the kickoff as well. Like now you're going to want to make sure you get a kicker who can drop it right in the bucket at the 1 yard line. And then for the onside kick, you're really going to want to have a kicker who can also get that onside kick right. Instead of like, you know what, if you didn't get it, we can't blame the kicker. It's like an impossible thing to get. Now it's putting a little bit more pressure on the kicker to be better at multiple things, which I also like because then it can make the idea of the kicking position a little bit more diverse and better. So
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
want to go to the idea of just letting the offense dictate the entire game. Because at the end of the day, football is the ultimate team sport. We shouldn't try to stray away from that. And that's kind of where I stand. I would like to see maybe you bounce back the receiving team 5 yards, something like that. I don't know. It had to be kind of studied a little bit more.
Honestly,
But
that would have been my first initial thought.
yeah, bounce them back a little bit more because the one thing too I like about the onside that you would automatically lose when if you were to switch to like a fourth down situation is you lose the surprise element. Because how many times, honestly, some of the most successful onside kicks were surprises. They threw people off guard. It happened in like the second quarter, and they just did it. Uh, Pat McAfee had a great one where he just kicked it right up the middle 10 yards and just followed the ball and jumped on top of it and caught the whole. I don't remember who he was playing when they did that, but got the whole team off guard. I like that surprise element, that trickery that you can still play with that. So that's just me. I know some people might rather have the fourth, but I just think I don't want to stray too far away and change the game too much. You know what I mean? But now that I've kind of given my point, what do you think? If you
Uh,
agree with me or
yeah,
not?
I think it's a lot, but I do think they need to come up with a better method for the onside kick, and I do agree with what you said in terms of having more utility kickers, right? Really elevating their skill set in the game, right? It's more than just launching the ball into the end zone. You got to be a master of your craft. And I know some of the onside kicks, man, the bounces could go perfect, but granted, there's just not enough space. The receiver, you're relying on them to miss the ball at the end of the day. You have that
Yeah.
perfect pop. If it gets through their hands, maybe you have a chance. If they catch the ball, what are you gonna do? It's over.
Especially with the way gloves are now. I mean,
Yeah,
you work at
like
Nike. You've seen those gloves. Like those things are like duct tape. Like, I mean,
it's
it's
gorilla glue on these gloves,
yeah.
man. But we've seen like this countless amount of times for those that are avid football watchers. Like again, only three successful or four successful this entire season.
Yeah, three.
What I mean? So again, like I think they should stick with the formation. You don't want to make the game too confusing, especially for the average viewer. Now that's going to be crazy rule change. Uh, but the formation and maybe shift back the team a couple of yards because regardless, isn't there a rule for onside kick that it has to go 10 yards anyways?
Yeah. It
So
has
I
to
mean
go
that's,
10 yards.
that's another factor in it as well. So you know what I mean? There's already a
Yeah.
lot of rules within that, which makes it even harder.
And another thing that makes it a little bit more difficult too is that the NFL is trying to do things for player safety, and maybe the onside kick is not the safest thing because you having like a bunch of like big ass dudes running at each other full speed head on. So, but yeah, I don't know. But let's move on to the next final and third change that they do want to make. And this one I absolutely love. And this is one that I think they should have done years ago, like a decade ago. I'm not even kidding. Is using technology for first downs. I've been dying for this. We have been relying on the eyesight of old men for too damn long, and we got cameras everywhere. And this is this, and it's like I don't understand because we've had this technology in tennis where they can basically
Get shadow of the ball.
yeah, what's the word? I'm drawing a blank on the word, but My
What
God,
they're saying
I don't
about
know. With that, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank.
guidelines.
Simulate. I don't know why I'm terrible right now. But either way, they're able to like basically, you can see exactly where the ball lands, right on the exact line. And then in soccer, you've had this since like 2014 World Cup with goal line technology and offside technology, where they basically give you 3D renders of exactly where the ball crossed the line on in soccer. And the same thing when it goes for the offside, like exactly where that knee placement was or the shoulder placement was to see if he was offside or not. And I'm like, how do we not have that in football? Like we pride like the NFL prides themselves or football in general is known for being the game of inches. Every inch matters because it can result in getting a first down or whatever it might be or a touchdown. Granted, I do know it's a little bit more difficult because it's not as clear cut as tennis or soccer where you can kind of blatantly see the ball. It gives the cameras full view to kind of see everything. But the technology, and clearly they have it now, where they can kind of whether you put a sensor in it or put sensors in the first down post or whatever it might be, and you can determine. And we kind of do it with the goal line, with the pylons, with the cameras. But why don't we have goal line technology? I don't understand that. That's like I said, we've seen it in tennis, we've seen it in soccer forever. It'd be sick to be like, instead of like relying on the placement of where the ref put the ball while he was in the midst of running, trying to keep
Yeah,
up with the player. And
it's
then if they have to
good.
go to the replay, they have to hope that the camera angle is right so they can exactly see where it was laid. And that's even if you can see it because it might be covered up by players. I think sensors is just the way to go. Cameras, whatever. I mean, the NFL can figure it out. They're the richest sports league in the world. You can figure it out. So I really hope this gets done this season. I'm sure it will. I think it's one of the most controversial things that happens in football is the placement of the ball. And yeah, but what do you think about using technology on first down?
Man, it's always hard to pick a side, right? Because sometimes modern problems require modern solutions is the phrase, right? And but I mean with football, like you said, it's the game of inches. But what about chain gang, man? They're part of the game. We're just gonna dismantle them and take away their
No,
job.
they're still there. No, they'll still because the players still need the perception of where a thing is, so they'll still be there. They just won't. It won't. You won't rely on the refs for the placement of the ball. That's me. I mean, like
Oh, because I remember seeing something about having like a digital line they're gonna have on the field and
that
everything
as well. Actually, you're right. Yeah, I do remember them saying that. But I mean, maybe you bring the chain gang out there for the
for the close
for
calls, for
the
the close calls.
yeah
Oh,
for the I don't know for the tradition.
I think
They're
they
just
might get
out there
replaced.
just to be the guy.
However, there are a lot of factors, man, which I mean, if they do result to this technology, obviously it would be beneficial, right? You want the most accuracy, but there's other things that come into play, right? You're still gonna have to review the ball goes over, was the knee down, was his elbow down? You got 50 people, jumping on top of him. So regardless, I feel like they're gonna have to result to replay because yes, the ball may get across, but your body may be down and you're not gonna get awarded the first down, right? So I feel like that's where they're still gonna go and rely on like replays, no matter what.
Yeah, and I think that's how it would go because it's for example, that's kind of how it would go in like tennis and soccer too, where it's like
Yeah,
if it's clear cut, they're not gonna use the technology, but when it comes to like, all right, it's too close to call,
yeah,
then yeah, you pull out the technology. You see, like, because I don't know if you ever seen offside technology, but I can picture it working really well with the
yeah.
football because you can see exactly like they'll like highlight exactly like when the knee hits the ground and when the ball crosses over. I think it could do like pretty damn well. And for those of you who don't watch like soccer at all, you look up first like goal line technology or look up offside technology, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And I think it could easily be implemented into the NFL. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think these are good changes. You know, as a sport who should do this, and this is like a topic for another day, is baseball.
I was,
I don't
I was
know.
waiting.
That's
Waiting
another
for that.
one where why the
There's
hell are we
rumors,
relying on old men
fires.
with poor eyesight that are unhealthy, and you can't even really see that well from behind the plate like that when you could we do it on TV. I mean,
No, no,
they do it on the
it's funny.
broadcast.
Exactly. And I didn't want to get into it. I really didn't want to get into it. I wanted to stay on topic. But since we're here,
Yeah.
if we're talking baseball and its technology, why the hell do we continue to bring back umpires with a low accuracy rate? And they know they have the statistics. you're accurate 60% of the time, 70% of the
It's
time. But guess what?
wild.
We're gonna have you umpire the World Series and bring you into these postseason games. And we're watching at home crying strike balls and strikes, but they don't have the technology there for that. So I don't understand why they're showing us as viewers when it really doesn't matter because they're still making the calls.
Yeah, it is dumb. Like I don't understand. I mean, what they should do is maybe you have the ump there, but they just have like an earpiece in and they tell them like it's a strike or whatever it might be. Because I think the players still kind of need to know, obviously. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. That's a conversation for another video. So maybe we'll do that down the road. But yeah, anyways, if you guys made it this far in the video, we greatly appreciate it. Please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this about the NFL, as well as just all American sports in general. And if you're interested in some footy talk after you heard me talk about it a little bit, we do have a show called Real Fans FC where we talk all about word football and everything of that matter. But anyways, if you're on audio, please leave a comment and a rating, and we'll greatly appreciate it. But yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.